Hello and welcome to another episode of But Is It Fun? This week I went back a few years to snag a game that's been on my wishlist for a while because it's had me intrigued. Today we're going to answer a distress call deep in space, recharge our batteries, and save an entire crew of androids. We'll have to use all of our lasers, bombs, missiles, and even some plasma to defeat hordes of rampaging robots or become scrap metal ourselves in this week's game, Assault Android Cactus. Before we get into the story, I'd like to comment on the art style of this game. This kind of 3D animated style reminds me of low-budget Canadian cartoons, so this is incredibly nostalgic for me and I love it, even if I can recognize how bad it looks. Since this is a style of my childhood, it will always hold its charm for me. Assault Android Cactus starts out with our main green-haired android, Junior Constable Cactus, after responding to a distress call sent by a freighter ship 3 days ago.
But cactuses are plants, not androids, so how can a cactus be an android?
It's just a name. Her name is Cactus. She's not a cactus. She's not a robot cactus. It's just her name. It's her job to investigate what's going on and why this freighter ship is acting so weird.
I'm advising you to abort the mission and retreat immediately.
And submit a mission failed report? I hate those forms.
From the get-go, Cactus lets us know she's the kind of android who'd rather take the risk of being dismantled over having to submit a failed mission report. The writing for this game holds a lot of its charm. It's just the right amount of corny while also trying to pack in some plot alongside it.
It's okay, folks. I'm the police. Commence being calm.
As Cactus arrives on board the ship in the most graceful of ways, she encounters part of the ship's crew. Lemon, Holly, and Coral fill her in that the ship's section lords have revolted and have taken over the ship. In fear of something even more terrible happening, the crew and Cactus agree they need to reach the Nexus core of the ship to find out why it has given permissions for the section lords to run freely. However, to do that, they'll need to fight through thousands of robots and 3 kilometers of spaceship to reach the neural Nexus core chamber. And you guessed it, that 3 kilometers happens to go right through each section lord's domain on the ship. Hooray! From here on out, there's only some banter between each android and the section lords to provide extra background and story as to what's happening on the ship. And even then, some bosses don't provide much insight as to what's going on if you're playing through as Cactus only. Before you can get any information about what's going on out of Venom, the strongest and creepiest arachnid-like section lord, he's mutilated by a strange shadow of an android. The last piece of the story puzzle comes in when you make it all the way to the final boss, Medulla, the ship's Nexus core. She reveals to you that she knows the universe is a lie and we're all just shadows shackled to it. Apparently, stopping her will end her research into this manic obsession she has acquired, and everything in the universe will end. Once Medulla reaches her final phase, she says something about connecting to the ether sphere, and you get teleported to an odd-looking dimensional room. After surviving in this new dimension, Medulla reveals that Licorice, the dark, shadowy android from before, was the one who revealed to her this truth that converted her to taking over the ship. She says she needs to reach Terra Nova because our sins will not be forgiven and that it doesn't end here. We snap back to another cutscene where Aubergine informs the crew that it's unsafe to keep the core connected to the ship, which Peanut aptly replies with,
"You want to lobotomize a spaceship?"
So the only option left is to send in an operator to do all this manually, and Holly seems to be the most qualified. After coming to the conclusion that doing so would be completely reckless, the crew turn to their local officer on duty, Cactus, to shine light on this situation.
Cactus, you're a police officer. Are we being reckless? Cactus?
And boy does she, by shooting a huge laser right into the Nexus core, destroying it, solving the problem permanently.
Fix things or destroy multi-billion-dollar pieces of equipment on impulse.
Both?
And that's where it ends, with the word both and a roll of the credits. There is no resolution, there is no conclusion or realizations to the plot. Apparently, it was all about running and gunning the entire time. The meat and bones, well, they're androids, so I guess the wires and frames of Assault Android Cactus is its twin-stick shooter-style gameplay. Twin stick refers to the fact that you use one control stick to move and the other to aim where you're going to be firing your weapon, so you get to control both independently of one another. When using a mouse and keyboard, it works the same except with WASD keys and the mouse. It is a very simple ABS game. Always be shooting. but the majority of its depth comes from its weapon's switch-dodging mechanics. Knowing when to use your dodge to switch to your powerful secondary weapon is vital to beating this game and earning higher ranks. Switch dodging allows you to avoid some damage and hopefully deal some massive damage afterwards. However, you can't just simply spam this ability. It does have a very brief time before you can swap weapons again, and the biggest thing stopping you from dodging is overheating your secondary weapon. If your secondary weapon overheats, you can't switch dodge until it cools down a bit, indicated by a meter under your android. You pick your favorite android based on their weapon loadout, personality, or how cute you think they are. I don't judge. Here's a quick glimpse into each of our lovely mechanical menacing mademoiselles. Cactus is your default assault android. She has an automatic weapon and a flamethrower secondary. She may be standard, but she gets the job done well. Holly has a homing primary weapon, so if you need help aiming, she's your gal. She also has an intensely powerful cannonball shot as a secondary weapon that eats through all robots in a straight line. Lemon has your spread shot weapon for all you Contra fans out there. Her secondary weapon shoots a couple of rockets in a straight line that deal some good damage to whatever they hit. Coral is tough. She rocks the shotgun, which is a slow-firing but very powerful weapon. It can shred through most small robots in just one hit. Her secondary weapon, the plasma field, not only damages enemies inside of it, but also deflects bullets away from its center, so it protects you as well. Very helpful. Starch? Oh, my girl Starch! She was my favorite android in this game. Her primary weapon is a laser that gets extremely powerful at maximum strength and travels very far across the maps. But her secondary fire is fantastic. She launches a barrage of homing missiles at any available robots on screen. By switch dodging for only a brief amount of time to your secondary fire, you can launch only a small set of rockets rather than your full barrage to allow you to swap back to your primary fire quickly. Aubergine is probably the most difficult android for me to use, but she probably has the highest damage output. Don't quote me on that. Her main weapon is Hilo, which is a spinning blade droid that travels farther away from Aubergine depending on how long you hold primary fire. Hilo will also come back to Aubergine after you've released the primary fire button so you can adjust how far it travels. Her secondary fire is a singularity which pulls all enemies close to it into the center, which combos very well with her Hilo primary. You'll need to practice this purple-haired protagonist in order to use her effectively. Shiitake is your sniper android. She's equipped with a railgun primary that can snipe through any small and medium robots in only one shot. It also has penetration, meaning it travels through targets as well, so it can kill multiple robots lined up in a straight line. Her secondary weapons are propeller mines, which drop proximity mines on the ground to provide her with a little extra damage output and cover while she snipes from afar. Peanut is my second favorite android. She's gruff and hardcore. Her main weapon shoots a stream of magma. You want to know the melting point of something? She doesn't, because she'll know it'll all melt anyway given enough magma. Her secondary weapon is insanely fun as well. It's her massive Giga Drill that she carries on her back. This causes her to rush forward holding it in front of her and impaling any size robot dealing massive damage. You want to pin a big boy to a wall? This is your weapon. Licorice is the final assault android and the main cause of all that's going wrong on this ship. But now she's on our side! Yay! Her primary weapon is a cannon that fires large bullets, but at a slow rate. Her main allure is her secondary weapon, the Vorpal Blade. This is like a homing melee attack as she lunges quickly to her target robot and does a sweeping slash, destroying all smaller robots around her. It has a slightly low cooldown, so you can spam this and slash away hordes of enemy robots. I am so grateful to have such variety in characters to choose from, especially when they all have their own unique combat and visual styles and unique personalities. It's so refreshing to play a game where each character is unique and has its own personality and weapons without being a carbon copy or palette swap of another existing character. After you've selected your favorite android, you get sent to the level map. The most adorable thing about each android is the sound they make when you quickly deselect them on the character selection screen.
Pineapple!
They go from happy or excited to sad or annoyed. A fantastic little touch of flavor that didn't otherwise need to be there. Your starting selection of androids is only Cactus, Lemon, Holly, and Coral, but you'll unlock the rest later as you play through the campaign. To select which level you want to play, walk to it on the map, select it, and it jumps you right into the action. Each stage has its own unique flavor with only a few level styles being recycled. You have everything from the first level's elevator stage, a standard linear path room navigation level, arena levels, and even some crazy levels where the floor is only visible while it's in range of your character. During these levels, you really only have two objectives: destroy murderous robots with your guns, and keep your battery charged. And keeping your battery charged requires the destruction of said murderous robots. It's an awesomely explosive cycle, like a Michael Bay movie. During your gun-fueled rampage, you'll notice a few things pop up in those levels. The combo meter. It's as simple as it sounds. Destroy robots quickly without pause, and the number rises. This number can reach into the thousands in certain game modes. It's a huge adrenaline rush to see your combo meter hitting over 400. Feels good, man. Batteries. Your android will always give you a verbal shout out when a battery drops so you can go collect it, even if you can't see it on screen at the moment. Collecting these batteries refills your charge, and your charge is your life force. If it runs out, it's game over and you have to restart the mission you were on from the beginning. Energy pellets. These are those tiny little white bits that enemies drop when you destroy them. Collecting them will power up your weapon, increasing its damage and fire rate, so collecting these are paramount to survival in later stages. However, if you happen to get knocked down, your weapon resets to level 0 and you need to start collecting these energy pellets all over again. The power-up sphere. This power-up can have 3 separate benefits for you. The speed boost is yellow and will grant your android increased movement speed, fire rate, and a loot vacuum to collect those energy pellets and batteries. It's astoundingly helpful. The firepower up boost is red and summons 2 tiny robots to your side that each fire out bullets as you fire. They're a great way to add some much needed power to your android early on in a level or boss fight. Finally, the shutdown boost is blue and it is a robot nullifying power. It shuts down all robots currently spawned, including bosses, causing them to be stunned and unable to attack for the duration. This boost is mind-bendingly helpful in shutting down some bosses' more annoying attacks or escaping a thick horde of robots. Picking this boost up at a well-timed space can keep your combo meter going up high or help you avoid unnecessary damage. Knowing exactly when to grab each of these power-ups can be integral to achieving an S+ rank on stages or clearing boss rush mode. After clearing all of the main levels, you have to defeat one of the section lords before progressing on to the next area of the ship. The first of the 6 bosses is Production Lord Embryo. He's a very standard first boss, but his size is intimidating since he's the largest robot you've seen thus far. There's really nothing special about his design. He looks like a rounded off version of a mech warrior, but that's completely fine. He's still a giant robot, and as we all know, being the first boss, he also introduces you to how the bosses will operate. Dropping him below each of his vitality thresholds will sometimes get you a power-up, but will always net you a battery. There really is no deep strategy to him or any of the other bosses, just dodge bullets and shoot. Vespula is the hydroponics controller, which is essentially the ship's gardener. She makes sure the plant life on the ship stays alive and has proper living conditions. Her design is much more interesting than Embryo's. She has this large blossom-like lower half, but a mantis-shaped upper body with what looks like a head made of thorns. I love the aspect of modeling something like a robot overlord after something natural like a flower or an insect. Sometimes opposites just work well together. Shooting her while she is in her ball form will not damage her. Only shooting her swarm of robo-wasps will force her to change phases and drop you that sweet battery. The third boss is the beefy boy, Security Administrator Justice. His job on the ship is to run all security, so your confinement cells, weapon systems, that kind of thing. He looks like an armadillo mixed with a bear to me, and I will say, even though he has a much simpler design than Embryo, I think it makes him look much better. Sometimes less is more, and sometimes all you need to do is dual-wield shields for that double AC bonus. Wink! He will eventually lose those 2 shields and start attacking with more intricate attacks, like tether spheres and arc reactor-esque chest lasers. But just keep dodging and shooting and everything will be just fine. Eventually. Superstructure Engineer Venom is the coolest boss of all 6 to me, even though I really hate spiders. There is just something about a giant spider made of support beams and other metals. And the fact that he spends nearly the entire fight underneath you is rather cool. He will constantly use his massive legs to try and destroy you from not only the outside of the ring, but through the middle of it as well. After destroying most of his legs, he'll use his abdomen to shoot webbing at you and start summoning tiny spider bots to track you down while being slowed in the webbing. Assault Android Licorice is a rogue android who was the one who gave Venom the old slice and dice to silence him before he spilled the beans. She has the most unique boss fight in the sense that she's the only android that you fight. She operates the same way that we do, and you need to make sure your battery outlasts hers. But therein lies the catch to her fight. She can collect batteries too. If she snags a battery, she gets the energy and you don't. So it's not only a straight gunpowder fight, but also a tactical placement fight, making sure to not stick to the outside of the ring to try and cheese her down. I'm super glad they threw in a surprise android fight here near the end of the game. It's all nice and good to fight huge overlord robots, but sometimes fighting something with similar rules and weapons as yourself is a good change of pace and a good challenge. Neural Nexus Medulla is the ship's core that controls everything happening on board. She's the one who has allegedly gone haywire and given permission to the Section Lords to do whatever they want. She's got a giant eyeball look that's kinda scary to be honest, but also very cool too. She's essentially just a boss rush, minus Licorice, of all the previous boss's final stages. She will eventually reveal her giant eyeball and start summoning large, wiry pieces of her room's construction and some ship defenses to take you down before her progress is complete. Once you take her down, she activates what's called the Ether Sphere and transports you to another dimension where you have to gun down all these polygonal shapes before your time runs out to defeat her. If you manage to survive, it's GG and you've stopped the robot uprising. For now. There are 3 other game modes in Assault Android Cactus: the Infinity Drive, the Daily Drive, and Boss Rush mode. Boss Rush mode is exactly what it sounds like, a non-stop rush from one boss to the next until you've defeated them all or run out of battery. This mode will definitely put your skills to the test if you're going for that tasty S+ ranking.
Made it.
The Infinity Drive is a massive collection of 50 waves of robots with bosses splashed in every set number of waves. Apparently, only 2 players have ever documented finishing Infinity Drive. Or so the internet tells me. This is the ultimate test of skill that Assault Android Cactus has to offer, where most players don't make it past the halfway point. The statistics actually only show that most players only make it to waves 13 to 21 and then drastically fall off after that point. Take that with a grain of salt though, I can only go by what the internet tells me. So if you're looking for something to put on your gamer resume, clearing this mode would be one of them. The Daily Drive is a daily generated test of skill of only 10 waves, so the drive today won't be the same as yesterday or last week. The goal here is to try and get the highest score during these 10 waves and be the top on the leaderboard for the day. This can also be played with 2 to 4 player multiplayer as well. Assault Android Cactus is a solid fun time, but it's got issues and I've got beefs with it. There is so much going on screen that it's hard to keep track of your character sometimes, and in a game like this, that's counterintuitive to its core gameplay. If I can't see my android, how am I supposed to dodge and survive or even tell where I'm going? Sometimes it seems like weapons just don't work like they did 10 seconds ago. This could possibly be user error, but sometimes it's so blatantly different I can't tell for sure if I'm the one to blame. So many times I'd use Peanut's drill attack, which is supposed to provide some invincibility frames, and sometimes it would and sometimes it wouldn't. It's grossly inconsistent. I hate having to wait for the power-ups to cycle to the one I need in that moment. A lot of times you won't be given the power-up you need at the time and are forced to wait for it to slowly cycle through to the one you want. In a fast-paced game like this, it makes no sense to make it this slow. Where the hell is the end to the story? I feel so incomplete knowing that it just so abruptly ends right after destroying the Neural Nexus core. What happens next? Who was Medulla trying to stop? Why is Starch the way she is? Why do I love her? I demand answers for closure. The leash puppies. These little robots who pull you around or stop you from moving, I hate them so much. They are so annoying, especially when you're at low weapon power and they gang up on you. The mine bombs in this game are super trash level garbage. Sometimes they come from completely off screen or areas you can't hit and drop right on top of you and explode. You can't dodge them because it happens so fast and just feels cheap. Alright, I hear ya.
Enough with the negativity already.
Yeah, it's been the beefs. Now it's time to talk about my favorite thing Assault Android Cactus has to offer. Unlockables. It's been a bit of a while since I've played a newer game that had points you could earn to unlock things that are essentially like cheat codes. They range from anything as simple as visual filters to game-changing perks, like one-player and AI multiplayer, so you can play with up to 3 AI partners. One of the coolest unlockables you can get is a first-person shooter mode. The game has been this semi-top-down shooter for the most part, but if you unlock and activate this mode, you can play it like a first-person shooter. And boy, does this game get really Sorry, I meant to say it gets really It's awesome, but it might give you a little motion sickness. There are a lot of other unlockables, like the mega secondary weapons or an invisible heads-up display. You may also spend points to unlock concept art or promotional art, or earn extra music tracks and sound effects by unlocking newer androids. Unfortunately, I didn't spend the time to unlock them all because I just didn't feel the desire or need to. I really just wanted to see the first-person mode to experience it and show it off for you all. With that being said, I took a good look at how I felt while playing Assault Android Cactus and came to this conclusion. Assault Android Cactus is a very fun time. I loved the gameplay and its style, but it didn't have the depth that would keep me playing to unlock everything. The main meat of the game only lasts about 2 or 3 hours or so depending on your skill level. I will go back to it sometime in the future to play more because it's a great bullet hell-like game with cute androids. Because of the lack of that distinct draw, I've decided that Assault Android Cactus earns a potentially fun rating. If you manage to see this game on sale for less than $10, by all means jump on it. You won't regret it if you think you would enjoy this game from what you've seen today. However, I can't warrant recommending it for its full price, but that doesn't mean I condemn it either. Use your common sense and decide whether or not this is a game you should purchase for yourself or not. As always, here's the question of the day. Should games have a defined ending to a story? This could be an open ending for a sequel or a full conclusion, but I want to know what you have to say. Do you dislike games for leaving you hanging without any idea of how it's gonna go, or are you fine with that kind of abrupt stop to a story? Don't forget to let me know your answer down in the comments below. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe if you wish to see more videos like this one. And hit that little bell icon to be notified of all of my uploads. YouTube doesn't deliver everything to your sublist anymore, and it would help out both you and I a lot for doing so. And hey, if you like shooting style games, I'm playing Cuphead in my Bite-Sized Beefs video series. It's my Let's Play series where I cover games that are just too large to do my style of reviews on. Sometimes 2 weeks just isn't enough to do stuff like RPGs. I can't wait for next time, everyone. See ya!